Welcome back to the Pull the Chair podcast brought to you by the Grit Network. I am your host, Paris. With me, my co host, Dylan. Tyler would not be able to make it today. Hey, work calls, man. Work calls, got to get that done. And he just had a trip in Vegas. So, yeah,
Y-
can't blame him too much there. So, we definitely get to see him next week. But this week, it'll just be me and Dylan. So, Dylan, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Duty calls, everybody's got to work, and it'd be like that. But as far as how the NBA playoffs have been, it's been a lot of drama, a lot of ass whippings, and I'm just excited. I mean, we got some all NBA talk to talk about. There's a lot of
hmm
different things to talk about this episode, so I'm definitely excited.
It's been, as this title would tell, we got one series that's very exciting as it's going on right now, tied 24-24 at the end of the first quarter between the Spurs and OKC. And then you got in the East, just BTA the entire series. The Cavs had game one, blew game one completely, and it just was never the same. They were talking about game one going into game four. So like it just went to show that series was over. So, like I said, one really great series of great basketball, great coaching, and another series of, just ass whooping. And the Knicks just really showed they're just dominant team in the East. And nobody was competing. The Hawks of all teams were the teams that competed the most with the Knicks this year.
I don't know, man. If you talk to Kenny Atkinson, they won by analytics 2 of those games. Sure, they lost in the sweep and it wasn't close, but analytically speaking,
Hey
it's
man,
technically a 3-2 series. Or
we I funny enough for a sweep, I do have a good amount to say about that series. So we'll get into that, especially get into this OKC series. But before we get into these two playoff series, let's talk about some. We got a couple more awards going out, all NBA teams going out. So we'll start off with your guy Joe Mazzulla winning Coach of the Year. What, second year in a row for Joe Mazzulla?
no, I think it's the first one. He didn't win last year. I believe
Okay,
the Thunder coach won last year.
yeah,
They know.
yeah, that makes sense.
But I mean, I think they gave it to Missoula out of the principle of like, look, they lost a lot of players going into the season. Whether it's Porzingis, Holiday, and then of course Tatum was gone for almost a whole year, and it was always just, oh, the Celtics are gonna suck. It's gonna be a gap year, blah blah blah. And they still pulled out a second seed, and you could talk about the playoffs and how they choked it away and how embarrassing that was. But at the end of the day, these are regular season awards. And as far as the regular season goes, I mean, Joe Mazzulla has been more than deserving in the past to get it, but this was just a feat unto its own where not many coaches can say that they could get to a top seed or one of the top seeds without their best player and missing a bunch of others. Like this was not a season that the Celtics planned on competing, and they still made it look like they were like going into the playoffs. I was genuinely like, oh man, this Celtics team going on a run. They're looking scary, and then
They did,
afterwards, who's to say? But during the regular season, this was a fun team to watch. So props to Joe Mazzulla, definitely well deserved.
and to stay on the awards, it was marked down to that one in 2023-2024. Funny enough, Kenny Atkinson won it last year.
That's right. Yeah, 'cause they're a 1 seed. That's right. Cavaliers were
Yep.
a 1 seed. So yeah, that makes sense.
So Kenny Atkinson won it last year, and Joe Mazzulla won it this year. I mean, again, as you mentioned, for it to be a down year, and they're the number two seed. That kind of goes to say a lot for what he did with that team. And I would say not many people expect. I would say probably we expect to be at least in the playoffs because you had enough. But a two seed with no Jason Tatum, nobody's expecting that. And then it,
Yeah, I mean,
the
it's just
playoffs.
how it goes. I want to show off this comment. This comment already got me chuckling. I mean, first off, we got to see who comes out of the Western Conference, Derpy, before we really determine. But, I mean, honestly, I like this Knicks team. They're going to be fun, even being a Celtics fan and, having that natural rivalry for the New York teams in general. I mean, if it's a Thunder Knicks series, I do think the cancellation of the powers of the refs will definitely cancel out. We'll see. Um, but going back to what you were saying, um, yeah, I mean, it felt like it was just a runaway for Missoula to win it, and I was more surprised of like considering how Missoula talked about the coach of the year in the pressers and being like, I don't give a crap about this award, I don't want it, like pretty much saying like, because the only thing that the media cares about basketball is themselves. And they love stroking their egos. So the fact that despite Joe Mazzulla being like, I don't want this crap, and then still getting it. I mean, there was really no other real contestants in their eyes.
Yeah, I mean, and the two other contestants for Coach of the Year was J.B. Bickerstaff of the Detroit Pistons and Mitch Johnson of the Spurs. And I guess you can also make an argument for both. J.B. Bickerstaff, number one seed in the East with the Detroit Pistons, and went what a good month and a half without Kate Cunningham, and they still held on to it. So, and it's just a big jump the Pistons have made the past 2 to 3 years. He's definitely got that team going in the right direction. And Mitch Johnson, I mean, watching it right now, the Western Conference Finals, Wembanyama. But I mean, the entire team's honestly pretty good. With Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, it's a good team. Obviously, the team goes fully through Wemby, which you do see. Unfortunately, when Wemby's not on the floor, he's not on
Uh,
the team goes from a Western Conference Finals team to a just above average team. But that, I mean, that not even. I don't even think that's just coaching. That's just, I mean, it's Wembanyama. I mean, that's gonna.
yeah, I mean, like between the two of those guys, I feel like Bickerstaff would make more sense because, like, speaking of teams that weren't expected to be as good as they were, the Pistons are definitely on that list of like going into the season. Maybe people would consider them the playoff team. I think they were widely considered that,
Yeah,
but especially in as wide open of an Eastern Conference as possible. I mean, I think people would consider the Knicks and the Cavaliers being more likely the teams to be on top. And considering the Pistons were able to do it, and like you said, without Cade for a good chunk of the end of the season, when again games mattered, and the Celtics were biting at the heels of the Pistons trying to fight for that one seed, and they stood still, and they kept it on no matter what. And yeah, I mean, as far as the Spurs goes, I think they were just such a well-built team that
yeah,
if we want executive of the year, I would give it to the Spurs, considering it's just an accumulation of the talent that they've had. Just top to bottom, the Spurs have been mightily impressive. And I mean, yeah, I don't know if like that's like giving I don't know giving Ty Lue the coach of the year for like LeBron's team or like giving Steve Kerr, and which I know Steve Kerr definitely won an award for with the Warriors. 'Cause, again, when you go 70, when you only go losses in the season, that's
yeah.
definitely something regardless. But like, I do like to think there's more nuance with the coach of the year award sometimes, and clearly they decided that they liked how Missoula is coaching overall ultimately.
And I got nothing against them, man. Like I said, the only other person I would have put up there is JB Bickerstaff because I can understand it was a wide open East. It was one of those. The East was open, and you expected the Knicks and the Knicks to be one, maybe the Cavs too. Especially with the Cavs being the number one seed last year, you're like, okay, this Cavs team shouldn't go farther down, but they did, and then we got to see them in the playoffs. Funny enough, they did. They made it farther, but still, against a dominant team, they looked pretty bad. But for the Pistons to take this open year and say, "Hey, we're just going to control the East this year," because not only did they were number one. They were number one from like start to end. Like from the beginning of the
Hmm.
year, they became number one seed, and they just stuck with number one seed through the entire season. So
Yeah, and I mean you gotta give credit for that, no doubt, because I mean they at one point they seemed like a unstoppable machine. They
yeah,
went on that 12-game win streak, and they were they're just running through teams. I mean, I do think in part because of how bad the bottom half of the Eastern Conference was, that probably that's why they're getting a lot of those wins, considering like Eastern Conference teams tend to play Eastern Conference teams more than Western Conference teams and
yep,
all that. So they definitely got their fair share of beatdowns on the lower on those like tanking teams that Adam Silver also hates so much. Um, so maybe that played a part of it where there's like there really wasn't that many impressive wins, and sure they won as much as they did, but maybe that's just more a part of the NBA just never fully believing this Pistons team. They kind of felt like an overachieving team, which is a valid considering how the playoffs played out. Yeah, I do think
yeah,
the Pistons were definitely overachievers this year.
100%. So that goes to think, what do you expect out of the Pistons team next year? Obviously, they're again being number one seed, had a coach of the year contender. But again, you got Jason Tatum coming back all season. This Knicks team as looking good as ever. Cleveland has to definitely get to bringing back James Harden, wanting to bring back James Harden in the contract extinction, keeping Kenny Atkinson. Obviously, the Celtics. Yeah, we talked about Jason Tatum. The Pacers having Tyrese Halliburton back. I mean, no draft pick. We have Tyrese Halliburton back. We got Zubac at center, so we're only really missing one position. Where's
So
that put the Pistons?
So I mean, yeah, right. I had to take a quick look at the free upcoming free agents just to see what's going on with that because first off, they got Jalen Duren on a restricted free agent tag, which is good. I do
Mhm.
think his tank dropped significantly in the playoffs, but he was an All NBA guy and he played fantastic for the majority of the season. So I think they'll just get him back. Tobias Harris is not really someone you'd really care to miss, but again, he somehow finds himself on a playoff team one way or another.
He does.
And then Kevin Herter, I mean, he wasn't really the most impactful player this year for the Pistons, but maybe if they get a good deal on him, maybe it'll be worth it. But I mean, all in all, this Pistons team, especially its core, is staying the same. And I think it'll be more par of the course. I don't think there'll be a one seed again, that's for sure. But I do think they could host the first round of the playoffs next year. I do think they could be a four or maybe a three seed, depending.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I still think the Knicks are by far the best team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, that's still,
Yeah.
give or take, even with what's going on in the playoffs. I mean, they showed they're the best. I mean, you can't sleep on the Celtics. I mean, I don't know. The Cavs are such a weird team because like they're just again regular season
They're
team,
they're a regular season
fantastic.
team.
So like they could very well just do the same thing running back, and I do think the Pistons are right there with that. I don't think anyone else in the Eastern Conference, barring any crazy moves in the off season, that at this moment I could see them firmly in that four seed.
Okay. The only teams I would put up there that could potentially do something next year. We got to see what the Orlando Magic were. Now, granted, the Orlando Magic got now get rid of their head coach, which I feel like was a pretty bad move, but we got to finally see what the Orlando Magic at the full strength in this playoffs. Because again, we've talked about it while they're in the playoffs. They've been injured so much the past 2 years. We finally got to see them full strength. Everybody on the team should have taken up the number one seed Pistons. They were right there. It was literally in their hands. They just dropped it. They just said we don't want to hold on to this. They let that go. But seeing what they were able to do, can the Magic do that all season? Maybe, maybe not. Again, brand new coach, so we'll see how that goes. But the Magic are a question mark. They could be up there. They could potentially do something.
I think they have so many more things they have to do. I mean, we've seen quite a few teams fire their head coach previously and then turn it on, become fantastic. I do feel like the Magic as a core are solid. I mean, they're definitely missing shooters, that's for sure. If they're missing one thing, they're missing
Yeah,
reliable scoring and shooting, like stretching the court. Because I mean, I do think Powell can be like a leader on the team, but just considering how he plays, if you have no spacing around Powell, then anyone could just pack the paint, and then again, you're just gonna be chucking misses and misses and misses. If we
what,
want to talk
27 of
about it,
them.
yeah, I mean it's just bad. I mean the Magic they really fell off hard, and I mean even with like low expectations going into the playoffs, they still again they still did decent enough to go to seven with the one seed, so like that's worth something.
Yeah.
Um, I do think that maybe Philly could
Hmm.
maybe make an improvement because most of the season you were missing Paul George, the PD suspension. Joel Embiid, I mean, he's never someone that's going to be truly healthy, but he missed a lot of the season too, and that always counts for something. Maxi has fully bloomed into being a true number one
Hmm.
talent, really being the leader of like the backcourt, and then
Me
getting a
Edgecombe
second
second year.
year. Yeah, VJ Edgecombe's second year is going to be really nice, and I mean, the Sixers were showing some fight. I mean, again, they got past the Celtics. They made them choke away that game seven. And then with the Knicks, I mean, again, the Knicks were just beating down everyone. So it's just
Yeah.
unfair to really to dog on the Sixers as bad as they did. But they won one game. That's not really much that many other teams out against the Sixers could say. So I think they have a potential to move up in the standings. But
What
I
about
mean,
Atlanta?
again,
The team that was the only team that's been able to compete with New York until Game 7. when that game 7, game what six, five or six, when they just
Well,
decided to get
yeah,
blown out by 50 points. But they put
they
a
won a game, yeah,
they
but
won two. They won two games against New
oh, they did
York.
win two.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean, they won two games against New York. End up being the number 60 at 46-36 after having a really rough beginning of the season. They took all second half. Does that go into the next year? Because to me, their only weakness right now is Dyson Daniels, and because Dyson Daniels has no offense, he's a great defender. He can play defense amazingly. He's gonna get you steals. He's gonna get you some blocks. But like it's almost close to Amon Thompson, but at least Amon Thompson is athletic enough. He's gonna get to them and score. Just how are you a shooting guard and can't shoot? I don't understand that aspect. And the Rockets and the Hawks both have that. Shooting guard can defend but can't shoot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dyson Daniels had a really bad case of the yips because I'm pretty sure he wasn't always this bad of a shooter. Like this was just a really particular bad year for him shooting wise, and I mean, it's you definitely don't want to be a liability on offense. I mean, he still managed to average 11 points per game. That's something. That's not a fat zero. That's not Matisse Thybulle or a Ben Simmons. Like he was still capable of doing something with the ball.
This was
But
a
yeah,
particular
just
bad year for Dyson Daniels. Realistically, though, he's not a good 3-point shooter, but the past 3 years he was at about 32%. But so
yeah,
not good, but not but at least capable. This year he was at 18%.
so yes, I mean first year, I am so like by attempts. So like yeah, I'm looking at the shooting right now, and like his first 2 years were solid. He according to Basketball Reference, he was a 41, 43 shooter, and then he went to Atlanta, and when his attempts went up, he just started breaking them bad, going 25 and 15% respectively the past 2 years. So that was a deep cliff. Like you could double up the 15% 3-point percentage and be a league average shooter.
Yeah.
Like that's bad. Like that's bad. So, um, as far as the Hawks, they're always a strange team, and they've only made it stranger this year because, pivoting off of Trey Young like they did, and McCollum's going to be in free agency. That's a big question mark because he was someone that
Yeah.
kind of showed up and be a true veteran presence, and I would argue he's the only real veteran presence on that team. Um,
Yeah.
so like, but like he
Alexander
kind of like
Walker.
I mean, again, he definitely came up huge this year. He was, again, one of those guys that came up out of nowhere, but he was a perennial bench player. I mean, great, he's played long enough where, not to say that he doesn't know anything. Of course, he's a 7-year NBA player. Like, he's still someone that has put many minutes in. But am I going to rely on Alexander Walker be a perennial 20-point per game guy? I don't know. He's going to have to prove that to me. Jalen Johnson seems like someone you could build around.
Yep.
But do I want him to be my number one option? It gives time to tell. He's definitely been improving year over year, and I don't want to put a ceiling on him, but he's definitely going to need a lot of help to get to his max potential. And it starts with a real point guard. They don't really have a true center. Neko Kongwu has been very solid, but he's kind of undersized
He is.
for the position. So, those are always two things of need. And I think if they make the right additions, I do think the Hawks can improve. But as of right now, I don't know. They kind of feel like they're stuck in playing hell. And
Gotcha.
they probably will continue to be in that. Maybe a little above, maybe a little below, but always around that 7 seed.
I got two more teams for you, and we'll start with the team, the Hornets. Just because the Hornets had a fun year this year. They came up, they became finally a team it was entertaining to watch. Obviously LaMelo and Kakanoopel 1 and 2 for 3-point made this year. So, they got shooters. Brandon Miller looks good. The team just looked overall was you can't even say they were good. They were okay, but they were entertaining to watch. They were very entertaining to watch. They then got
Yeah.
destroyed by the Magic.
Yeah, that's an understatement. I mean, like, I think for me, the Hornets, they're not a serious team. Like they're a
Okay.
fun team to watch, but they're not a serious team. I mean, if you want to talk about lack of veteran leadership, the Hornets are the number one team as far as that goes. Charlotte is definitely not a free agent destination. No one's gonna ask for a trade and be like, "Hey, I want to go to Charlotte." So that definitely leaves it to be like, can we get someone out of the draft again? Because that's usually how the Hornets get their talent. They've
Yep.
been fantastic in the draft as of late. A lot of their players on their team right now are through the draft, pretty much. So,
Lamella,
like, who's to
Canupo,
say?
Brandon Miller.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's just a short. That's just a short list. I'm pretty sure if you go through that team, a lot of them were pretty much Charlotte Hornet picks because they're not one that isn't around the top five pick every year. They kind of
Yeah.
have that perennial top five. So, for me, it's just so hard to visualize them making a true step forward because I think that requires everyone on that team to make drastic improvements, and I think the of the likes of Brandon Mel, Lamell Ball are reaching their ceilings. I mean, Con Knipple can definitely improve as a rookie, but is he gonna be a continuous 43% from the field from three shooter? I don't know. That's pretty elite. That's a tough
Yeah.
task. And he's gonna need to do more than just shoot because he definitely disappeared at the in that play-in game when his shot wasn't going down.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a lot to ask, but I don't see an easy solution for the Hornets unless they do go and get a big trade, which they have plenty of trade value. I do think they have a lot of trade value on that team. A lot of young, talented guys that
Hmm.
maybe don't exactly work the best together, but if traded correctly, they could probably get a real piece or two to like help make that team make that next step. But I still think that the play-in is really where they're going to be for the next year or so.
Gotcha. I got one last team, and I have to mention this team, so it's just to see what you think of them next year. The Pacers. Where do
Oh
you see
baby.
the Pacers next year? Granted, the draft hurt 100% hurt because we set up that trade around that draft, and for us to not get anything definitely hurts. But we're basically going into these playoffs with the same team we had 2 years ago. The team that
Mhm.
made it to the finals, we don't have them because of missing Bennett Mathurin. That is a big piece. But the year
Uh-huh.
before that, we lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Celtics. Was this team because that team that year was out had no Bennett Mathurin because he was hurt. So it was Halliburton,
Mhm.
Nimhart, Neesmith, Siakam, and Turner. We now have Zubac, which definitely is better than Miles Turner at this point. So we're basically going into the playoffs with that group team with more experience. What do you see
Uh,
from that?
I mean, I do think the team as it's built right now is very solid. Uh, Barring you don't have a season from hell like you guys had last year. I think bare minimum you guys should be a playoff team. Um, they're also one of those teams that is going to be like, that top pick would have definitely been what would
Yeah,
have made you guys contenders. But, the powers that be, they said, hey, LA Clippers, here you go.
basically,
So,
basically.
I mean, it is pretty tough. I mean, I'm looking at you guys, free agents. No one important is in that free agency. So you guys are pretty much all keeping everyone going
Yep.
into next year. So that's great. And then it's like, I'm not exactly sure how you guys' cap is going off the top of the head, but I'm sure you guys are definitely not in really any salary cap trouble either. So. I think they're very well. I think you guys will make it through, not the play in, but like just above the play in. I could see you guys being a top five team. I could see you guys getting there because again, as long as Harry's Halliburton picks up where he last left off, I just don't see how they can't be because I love Zubac. I love Pascal Siakam. I think that's a great front court to have.
And
And
have Jay
you
Huss
got
coming off the bench for him. It really is really nice because it
oh
was
yeah,
weird
you
having
guys
him as
have
a
plenty of
starter,
wings.
but to have
Yeah.
him as a bench, hey, that works. We can work with that.
No, of course. You guys got plenty of wings. You want to talk about athleticism, you got Toppin. You got Andrew Nembhard as one of your other guards. And,
Hmm.
I mean, TJ McConnell is a vet as anyone. He's definitely a solid dude. Aaron Neesmith, Celtics legend. When he shows up, boy, does he show up.
Yep.
I mean, again, I don't think I have anything bad to say about the Pacers. I think they're fine the way they are. I don't think they really have to make any drastic improvements. They just gotta stay healthy.
That's really what it comes down to. And I can definitely see the Pacers having a slow start just because going into the season, it'll be a whole year since Halliburton has played any meaningful basketball. So I can definitely see us having a slower start with him, definitely having to lead the team. It's gonna take, I would imagine it's gonna take him a second to get used to everything again.
Yeah,
But once we get in the flow of things, I mean, it's again, it's the same team we've had for the past 3 years with a better rebounding center who can score. Only thing I want us to do, like, and I've mentioned this, only thing I want us to do is get us maybe one more person we can not even have to play start, but come off the bench, like how the Hornets had Kobe White coming off the bench. I would like to get somebody like that. You mentioned Tobias Harris, and Tobias Harris wins, and if we could get Tobias Harris, have him come off the
easily.
bench wouldn't be bad. CJ McCollum maybe, but I feel like CJ McCollum is a little bit higher price wise, so I don't know how well. But Kobe White could be up there too because Kobe White's younger, so I mean it could
Yeah,
be up
he's a
there.
free
But
agent.
if we could get one of those, like I said, it doesn't even have to be a starter, but get somebody like that that can come off the bench and score. I mean, like I said, Obi Toppin comes off the bench and score. TJ McConnell runs around the whole entire floor when he comes off the bench and it throws everybody off.
Hmm.
Jairus Walker, I think we'll finally get to see a good amount, a lot more of Jairus Walker this year, just because we have no Matherin. So you're gonna need somebody to fill that
Yeah.
role. Johnny Furphy, as
Yeah.
much as I like Johnny Furphy, he's still not ready yet. We're not gonna see a lot of him. He's still just too young. He's fun when he's out there, but like meaningful games, he's not there yet. But Jairus
Yeah.
Walker definitely.
I mean, just to throw a name or two out there, Andrew Wiggins is a player option if he doesn't want to return to the
Yeah.
Heat. I don't hate him as a two-way guy. He's not going to be expected to do much for the Pacers. I think the beauty of the Pacers is that they already have their identity. I
Hmm.
think you're definitely right where it's going to take them time to get used to playing together again, but they could very well have him. John Collins, I mean, he's a solid dude. He's kind of 28 years old, and he's not fantastic, but he could give you solid minutes off the bench. He was always everywhere he goes. He seems to be a decent impact guy, not like a dude you jump for joy about, but someone that's decent.
Right.
And Anthony Simons, who's just a
Yeah.
bucket.
Yeah, he
If you
is.
just want another bucket, Anthony Simons is right there for you.
Yeah, I mean that's I think that's all I'm looking for in this bench. Because like I said, the starters is everything the same but Matherin, but which is what we had 2 years ago. It made us to a conference finals, and now it's just that team with more experience. And the bench
Yeah.
is there. As I say, I just want one more score off the bench because TJ McConnell, as much energy he brings every game, including the playoffs, he's not a scorer. He can
Hmm.
score, and we've seen him, especially against the Thunder. Funny enough, he can score. He has a deadly mid-range game for his size, but he's not looking to score all the time. He's definitely not looking to shoot a three. Obi Toppin's got a lot of excitement to his game, so I mean, he works well with somebody like a TJ McConnell. Jay Huff, like I said, I as a starting center, it's like okay, but again, we lost Miles Turner, brought Jay Huff, and Jay Huff led the league in blocks per game, but not in the East. Now you can't compare with Wemby, but
In
it
the
led
East.
it
In
in
the
blocks
East.
per game. So like we always have a good center that can block. So have him off the bench would be nice. Just Walker, I hope he takes a good step next year because if he can just become a consistent scorer, that's great off the bench behind Neesmith. So yeah, I mean, one more player. We even without getting one more player, we should be in the playoffs. Where in the playoffs, I should say nowhere under six. I F that low is six,
Yeah.
but I mean the Knicks are going to be a dominant team. What
Hmm.
are the Celtics going to do? I don't know with this Jalen Brown, what he wants to do. But even I mean, they show if they have Jason Tatum, they have Jalen Brown, they still a top two team. So like that doesn't really
Yeah. I mean,
matter.
as long as they keep Tatum, I mean, like, who knows what happens to Brown? I know there's so much drama around Brown, and I don't think it's gonna get toxic quite yet. I could see them running it another year, and then maybe when it's Jalen Brown's contract year coming up, or I think he still has another 2 years left on his contract, so it's like at least this upcoming year he's totally locked in, and that if things start falling apart, then we might see a Jalen Brown trade.
Yeah,
Um, but even just
that would
looking
change
at
some
these
things.
standings, even just look at these standings, like Cleveland, what do you do about James Harden? Do you keep? I mean, James Harden's a free agent, and he's always a rental. So like, you gotta gauge whether he even had fun in Cleveland in the first place. To even consider signing
Yeah,
him, and then do you even want to sign him? Do you want to continue them as a duo? So that's gonna be a problem. The Raptors are never serious to me. They're just happy to be there, and I don't think the Hawks have a true identity yet. So that 5-6 spot, I could definitely see for sure.
yeah,
If you know, if let's just say a Hawks or a Sixers move up, Cleveland falls down, I could see, a 5 or 6 seed for the Pacers hovering
I'll
around
take
there.
that, and I'll perfectly take that because I believe. Let me look. I believe that's where we were the year we made it to the champion. The last year. Let me make sure, but I believe we were around that 5 6 seed. We were four. We were right above. We were number 4 seed. So
Yeah.
we're right above it. But moving on to our next topic before we get to these two series, and I don't think we have too much to say about the Cleveland. Is these all NBA teams? The all NBA teams, along with the coach of the year, was put out. First team, which I don't think there's too much to really complain about. First team is Shaw, Jokic, Wimby, Doncic, and Cade Cunningham. Don't
Yeah.
think there's much to complain about with that at all.
No, no. I mean, again, I would just yell about the 65 game rule and how dumb it is, and even with the appeals and them being very deserving of all of these awards, it's like, again, it's Cade was definitely an MVP conversation at one point. Luca definitely put his way in the MVP conversation at one point this season too. So yeah, I have no complaints about the first team.
Now, second team, you got Jalen Brown, Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, and Jalen Brunson. Now, Jalen Brunson, funny enough, I feel like could have definitely slipped into that first team, but Jalen Brunson's is such a. I mean, he's a good player throughout the season, but especially in the playoffs, he is a playoff performer. That
Hmm.
man becomes a different player in the playoffs, so I can understand him being that second team. Donovan Mitchell makes sense to me. He just scores. That's what he does. He's a scorer, and he's gonna score no matter what time of game it is. He is gonna score. Kevin Durant, just consistent. Kawhi, I mean, when he's out there, he's good. I can't complain when he's out there. He is still a huge weapon when he's on the court. It's just you never know when he's going to be on the court. You just don't.
Uh,
And then Jalen Brown. Jalen Brown, as a player, as his talent, deserves a second team. I mean, for a second, he was in MVP talks, especially when you had the 65 game rules and all these players missing games. Jalen Brown was there because he was consistent. But then this dude goes out and complains about the game in the playoffs, then gets second team, and then complains about being the second team.
Yeah, I mean he was the sixth. Like if you want to talk about a sixth man, like he was the sixth highest as far as first team
Mhm.
on NBA votes, and I think that aligns because I mean he was 384 votes, and Kate Cunningham's 414. Um, I mean Luca was a scoring champion, and
Yeah.
Cade was on a first seed team. Jalen Brown, no doubt, was very valuable to how the Celtics played, and he was almost a 30 point per game guy. So I think he's perfectly fine in that second spot, or the second team. Kawhi Leonard, I mean, like he still averaged 27. He's still just a steady Eddie guy. I mean, like he hit the 65 games on the nose, which is not something he does often in his
No.
career. So like he did exactly what it took for him to get there, and I do like to think the NBA likes to drag on certain guys for longer just for legacy reasons, like Kevin Durant. He was definitely more of a legacy pick too, in my opinion. He was a 26-point game average guy, and he's mostly a scoring guy, but I don't think this Rocket team was fantastic. And while Kevin Durant was like kind of the main dude on that team, I think with all the controversies considering and how the team kind of fell apart down the way, I mean, it really makes me question where like when I look at, a Jamal Murray or when I look at Jalen Johnson on the third team, I mean, not so much Jamal Murray because he's not like the main guy on the team, like,
Yeah.
and I know that Jalen Johnson's just getting into these All NBA talks now, and that's why he got given that third team designation. So like in a time like this where now especially the 65 game rule matters, it does kind of feel like the Durant and Kawhi Leonard are kind of just like the old guard kind of guys that are just by name they get their spots,
especially because they
and
couldn't put
then
LeBron up here. you know.
yeah, exactly, like LeBron would have snuck into the All NBA if he could have.
hmm
And
And
Brunson, surprisingly, again, the least of the first team votes of the second team is fascinating. I thought he would have gotten more, honestly.
like he's just such a playoff performer. That Knicks team is so good throughout the season. You're like, okay, yeah, Jalen Brunson obviously the point guard of the team, but throughout the season, Brunson has a game, then Anobi has a game, then Cat has a game, then Bridges has a game, and then it just goes like that like all season. Like, yeah, okay, Brunson is the guy, but they all score. But then it hits the playoffs, and you're like, yeah, this is Brunson's team. The
Yeah.
playoffs hit, and you really get to see this is all Jalen Brunson's team, and he runs this team, no matter
I
what.
mean, I guess maybe they were just looking at how good the Knicks team was, and that's why they were kind of discounting Jalen Brunson. I don't think, I mean, honestly, I thought he would have deserved more first team votes than Donovan Mitchell, quite frankly. But I mean, again,
Yeah.
we're just splitting hairs because he still would have been in the same spots regardless. I
And then
mean,
this all NBA third team of Tyrese Maxey, Jamal Murray, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Duran, and lastly Chet Holmgren. Now Tyrese, before you get to that bottom, Tyrese Maxey, I would have expected to get higher, especially after the year he had this year. That dude
mhm.
was consistently, at the bottom talks of MVP talks. That dude had an amazing year for him to be third All NBA team. I would have at least expected second NBA team from him this year.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the guards were just so stacked that just because of how poorly the Sixers played throughout the season, they kind of taxed Maxey more. And yeah, I mean, it would be hard to validate putting Maxey in that second team unless he was like a true 30 point per game guy. I mean, he was close. He was
Yeah,
really close to getting that number, but you know, 28 is no slouch. Still averaged 6 assists on, mostly a dog crap team for most of the year, and kind of single-handedly willed that team to there. I just think that the competition was too much, and maybe if the Sixers got a better record, we would be seeing a Maxi and Brunson flip, which probably would have had more
that'd
people
be insane.
mad than anything. That would have been way more controversial if they
yeah,
flipped. So, yeah, I think it's just by position, just how many fantastic guards they were this season, even with the full 65 games in effect. And because I mean, if anything, if Kate Cunningham and Luka Doncic were no exceptions, everybody would have been moved up. We
yeah,
would have seen a Jalen Brown, Donovan Mitchell probably on the first team. Brunson probably would have been one of the tops of the second team. Maxey would have been a second team easily.
yeah.
But I couldn't
After
imagine how tragic the third team would have looked if that happened. So I do think they made the right decision there.
now Jamal Murray second and third in NBA third all team, and this year, funny enough, for how good Jamal Murray has been, obviously he's always been basically the second off because they have Jokic. But this was the first year Jamal Murray was on an All Star game in his entire career, which is insane to
Yeah.
think. So it goes to show how much little recognition Jamal Murray gets on that team because of Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Jokic just cast a pretty big shadow, both metaphorically and physically. And this was by far Jamal Murray's best year.
Yep.
He's been in the league since I was a senior in high school, at 2016, 2017 year, and every single year he's steadily improved his points with a little dip from 21 to 20, like post COVID, but
Yeah.
then 21, 21, and then he jumped to a 25, and I think just he was such an anchor for the team when Jokic wasn't playing well. I think of all the number twos in the league as far as option guys, I think Jamal Murray I think is fair. I mean, like he like Jokic is just so amazing for what he does, but that Nuggets team is such a unit together. They've always worked together. They've pretty much kept the same dudes for years.
hmm
And Jamal Murray definitely deserves recognition for as fantastic as he is. And I think he has some room to grow a little more, maybe. I mean, it's again, he's forever going to be a second option if he continues to stay on the Nuggets. So, like,
Yeah.
if he somehow finds himself on another team, then maybe he'll have one last explosion and improvement, but I think he's finally figured out his game. He's reached that point in his career where like he knows how to get to his spots. He knows how to get other people involved if he has the ability to. And he almost averages steal like he does just about every year, which
Hmm.
he's definitely no slouch on defense, which is all very important things. Not to
And then,
mention he's an elite 3-point guy. Just
oh
saying.
yeah, he's a scorer all around on offense. He can score anywhere, 3 point, mid range, get to the basket. Had one of the best layups I've seen in that cope in the bubble on LeBron. So like he is a scorer. And then the last three people, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Duren, them two, I do believe 100% deserve it. Jalen Duren definitely fell off a little bit in the playoffs, but I can understand it just because this was his first time ever in the playoffs. You want him to perform better, but it's not the first time you see that. I mean, look at Concanoople. I mean, it was the first time just in playing games that he couldn't score at all. At least
Hmm.
Jalen Duren started to figure it out in the end. It just took too long. Jalen Johnson,
Hmm.
I think, is a player you'll definitely start seeing a lot more in this All NBA teams. Definitely at the rate he's going. I mean, the dude's almost triple double. It's a close to triple double almost every game. So like you'll see that continuing. But the last guy, Chet Holmgren, slipping into the All NBA third team with 87 votes. That's definitely that guy that got put in there just because they couldn't get LeBron in there. If LeBron would have hit 60 games, Chet Holmgren wouldn't even been thought about because he missed it. You had either was a one last spot open. They're like, let's just give it to the guy on the best team in the league, Chet Holmgren. There you
Well,
go.
I mean, it was a perfect storm for him because he was the runner-up to Depoy the
Hmm.
victor. So they definitely put that into fact. I mean, still averaging 1.7 blocks per game is still
That was good.
1.9.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1.9. Still technically a downgrade from his previous 2 years, but last year he only played 32 games, so the per games are a little wonky. He definitely improved as a scorer. And also it helped that Jalen Williams wasn't there for the entire
Yeah.
year because I think if Jalen Williams was a 65 game guy this year and clearly he couldn't
Yeah.
stay healthy, even during the playoffs, the hamstring problems are still bugging him, and I think that would have been his spot. I think that was like think back like a couple years ago when Marcus Smart won the DPOY. Robert Williams was having such a fantastic defensive year, and the Celtics in general were such a great defensive team that when Robert Williams went down, and they're like, well, we can't give him DPOY, so let's just give it to Marcus Smart because he was also important to the defense of that team. It was kind of like, well, we don't have Jalen Williams, but the Thunder team was so damn good, and Chet was really that second guy when all things considered. So let's give it to him because why not? Like that kind of is what I felt like. I mean, I wish I had a guy off the top of my head that I think that would have deserved it over Chet, but like I think especially with the 65 game rule in effect, I definitely probably
That's
disqualified
all.
a couple guys that would have
Yeah.
otherwise would have been in that spot too. But again, especially with the deploy consideration and all of that, I'm pretty sure I mean, he had to be first team all defense too. So like
Right.
that alone is just like, all right, this is your Ben Simmons third team All NBA. Here you go. Respectfully, well, respectful Ben Simmons comparison because Ben Simmons was decent at the beginning of his career. So Chet
Respectful
Holmgren
Ben Simmons.
got that third team. I mean, pretty. I mean, when you think about it, though, Ben Simmons was in the defensive talks in that time too.
Yeah.
So like, it's not that far off. It's really not that far of a comparison. Talking about
It's
Philly Ben
the
Simmons.
moment you get thrown at you get Ben Simmons attached to you. It just doesn't
Ooh,
sound
ooh,
good, man. It doesn't
yeah.
sound good at all, man. But no,
I
Ben
I mean,
Simmons was respectable at the beginning. He was. We thought that Ben Simmons Joel Embiid team was going to be a Finals contender type of duo. So
I think that
respectable.
Sports Illustrated cover and everybody was looking down at the camera when you had your Jimmy Butler, when you had your the coach Reddick, right? The coach Reddick was on that
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Reddick
Yeah.
and Paul and Embiid. You had I mean again that was at that time that was finally like the process is finally working, guys. We got this, and then it just fell apart after they choked against the Hawks. Um, but I mean, again, to be more respectful to Chet, he's not afraid to shoot threes. He's actually a solid scorer. And, he had his best boards with almost 9 boards per game. So, like 17, 9. with some very good defensive numbers of 1.7 no, sorry, 1.9 blocks per
Hmm.
game. I mean, that's enough. I think,
Basically
like,
2 blocks a
especially
game.
at the
Yeah.
bottom spot, especially when he's the last spot on the
He
third
didn't even get
team.
100 votes.
Yeah, I well, for first team, yeah. So like, or maybe no, he didn't get no. That was all of his votes. The 89 votes were
Yeah.
all of his votes. So yeah, I mean, it's like it's pretty slim pickings, obviously, this year. So, fine. You know what? Fine. Sure, let's give it to Chet. I can't. Fine.
Respect,
You
give
know.
some respect to Chet Holmgren as he's playing right now. They're up 62-52 with a minute 30 left in the second quarter. And
Mm,
let's get to these conference finals, starting with the the beating we got to see in the Eastern Conference with the Knicks and Cavs. The Cavs blowing game one. They had game one in their hands, up 20 points on the Knicks in New York, and they blow that game to lose. End up
mm-hmm.
losing the rest of the series. I mean, it was even close. Like I said, they lost 115-104 in overtime. End up losing 115-104 in overtime to the Knicks game one. Lost 109-93 game two, 121-108 game three, and then 130-93 game four. Just it seems like it just got worse and worse.
Yeah.
And again, going into game four, the coach was still talking about the coach and players was still talking about how they should have won game one. The coach is talking about how they analytically won two out of the three games, or three out of the yeah, two out of the three games. They should be up 2-1.
Yeah.
It is just, it was one of those going into game four, you knew the series was over. You knew there was no chance. And from the beginning, the Knicks were like, yeah, this is easy. Nope, other than Donovan Mitchell, nobody seemed to be playing on the Cavs once again. Once again in the playoffs, it's just Donovan Mitchell, nobody else.
Yeah.
James Harden was a non-factor this entire series, just getting. I mean, the coach literally said it on New York that their offense was to go after James Harden. And again,
Mm-hmm.
going against coaching, Kenny Atkinson did nothing about this. Yeah, we're gonna keep James Harden. We're gonna keep James Harden on Jalen Brunson because he's one of our best defenders. Obviously not. Please not. The
Mm-hmm.
game plan is to go at him.
Yeah.
It's just so bad. And the fact that this just happened and it comes out that the Cavs are actively pursuing to give James Harden a long-term contract extension and they're retaining Kenny Atkinson at head coach.
I I mean there's what can you say about this team, man? I mean like I do think the Cavaliers are kind of stuck with where they at because I mean especially with someone like James Harden, like again, regular season guy, fantastic. I'm not sure if you saw in our group chat, I believe it was earlier today, but I posted a stat in there that in James Harden career, he's had 33 playoff games, 7 in this playoff year alone where he had more turnovers than field goals made. Like that's one
That's
of those
terrible.
stats is so crazy to think about because we've always known that James Harden is not a dude that shoots for efficiency. He's kind of just like I'm gonna shoot threes when I have the opportunity, or I'm gonna drive while I can. And Harden doesn't have the speed anymore to get to the bucket, like he used to. And like just seeing him have the yips over and over and over again, and you can't help but to look at James Harden as one of the like again, he's one of the older dudes on the team. So players are gonna look at him for motivation. They're gonna look at him to like get things going. And when Harden is checked out as he was in the second half of the series, of course it was over. I mean, even
Yeah.
Game 3, they were sleepwalking at the end of the game. They were just letting Brunson and the Knicks do whatever they wanted. Game 3 at the end, even when it was still kind of close at certain points, I think they were just outmatched. And at this point, it's just like it's so hard to really fathom if you let go of James Harden, that trade in the during the trade deadline was for
Mm.
nothing. You just pretty much gave up on that. And Atkinson's a coach of the year last year, so he's considered one of the upper echelon coaches in the league. So even with how disappointing this year was for them, you kind of just hope that everybody will sing kumbaya and maybe make some minor adjustments in the off season to get on the right track and make it to make it further next year. But I don't know, I can't help but to look at James Harden's woes in the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell shows up, but his teams just never find a way to win. And I mean, you could talk about like, well, he didn't have enough help, but at the same time, Mitchell plays a selfish kind of game that he does a lot of I score buckets and you guys just get the boards and maybe I'll get you
Yeah.
guys the ball if someone's really open. And that's not really a way to win either, unless you are someone that just averages 30 every game and just blows everybody away. But Mitchell has shown to have some slides too. He's not someone that's perfect in the playoffs either. And like when you look at a Harden and Mitchell duo, you have to look in the mirror and be like, is this really what we're gonna build our team around? Mobley, I look at drastically different before the playoffs and after these playoffs because he's
Okay.
always been a solid player, a deep boy guy, and he struggled every way through this year. Like every single part, every round, no matter who they played. Again, they stumbled into this third round. They had to play two Game 7 series, and they never played any real bigs. I mean, you could say Jalen Duran, All NBA guy, sure,
Yeah.
but like, Mobley was an all NBA guy. In fact, I would consider Mobley better. And, even then, it felt like everybody was taking Mobley's lunch and he didn't show up like he should have. And I don't know. It just kind of they feel like they fit into place, but like I don't know, just the quality and until they could change the narrative and really show that they could be a winning team. I mean, again, the bar's already set high. Like we're talking them as a third round exit, like it's a disappointment. Like that's a pretty high bar to jump.
Yeah.
And do we know they're capable of making it to the finals? I don't think they are. James Harden, the only time he ever made the finals was with the Thunder in his second year in the league. Donovan Mitchell made the finals never,
No, but
right?
never. This is the
Never,
farthest. This is
yeah.
the farthest Darren Mitchell ever made it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think with the Jazz too, he made in the third round once, I believe. But like again, that's as far as he gotten, for better or for worse, on teams that, again, centered around Donovan Mitchell, and again, fantastic at what he does. But is it winning basketball? Is it worth continuing that? And maybe just say like, hey, maybe the grass isn't green on the other side. Let's just run it back. And I don't hate it because unless you're gonna make a big move and blow everything up, you can't just keep some of the pieces and expect to get better results. So if they re-sign Harden and they re-sign Atkinson, they just believe in themselves, and there's nothing wrong with believing yourself, I guess.
With Harden, I can understand it, especially with the trade. They had Darius Garland, and Darius Garland didn't perform. Granted, I think they gave up on him just because he was injured all playoffs last year. And they're like, yeah, you're injured and he didn't perform. Yeah, I can't expect him. Yeah, he had his foot was injured. Duh, he didn't perform. His foot was injured and he faced the Indiana Pacers who run the entire game. Duh, he's not gonna do good. Like that's just a terrible matchup. But to
Hmm.
get rid of him and then bring James Harden, and then James Harden honestly, to me, played worse than Darius Garland. Because, like I said, Darius Garland, at least you can throw the excuse. I mean, yeah, an injured foot against a running team, it's going to be tough. James Harden just looked bad. They completely. Defensive wise, offensive wise, just looked terrible. But if
Yeah.
you bring him back for a full year on that team, it's just like, okay, they can get more synchrony with the team, but still, like, this is what you're going to get from James Harden in the playoffs. Like, say that they could go and be the number one seed again next year out of nowhere. But this is what you're gonna get at James Harden in the playoffs. It's just like that's
Yeah.
just not worth it.
And when I was seeing how Harden was distributing the ball early on, I was lauding the Cavs, being like, you guys need a ball facilitator. Harden has been proving that, he could get assists and pass the ball well and get the ball moving around. But then when the playoffs happened, Harden reverted to his old habits. Sure, he was able to drop some assists here and there. But we weren't seeing the double assist output that he's capable of doing. And he kind of just decided, like, all right, I'm going to just throw up shots and pray they go in. And sometimes they go in, they look amazing, but a lot of the times they are bad misses, and now the ball's going the other way. And yeah, I think Harden's attitude plays a big part of it too, because it's like when I think of like a Durant, like Harden, Durant, like Kyrie, Harden, Durant, that trio, they were perfect together for the Nets, but it's like the most toxic relationship ever. All three of them, and
Yeah,
they all have that similar mentality where when things are going great, they're like your best friend, got their arm around you, acting like everything's all great. And then when things go bad, they're gonna backstab you and find their next way out. And I mean, Harden, since they only had half a year with Harden, I'm pretty sure Harden doesn't hate
Yep.
being with Cleveland. And if Cleveland says, "Hey, here's a 4-year, $120 million contract," he'd be dumb not to say yes to that, especially at this point of his career. And then he'll be someone else's problem in 2 years. So I don't know. Like it's like it kind of just feels like he's gonna just take the money that's given to him, and he knows how to push buttons to get out of situations anyway. So, it's a
Just gained a
non-permanent
little
thing.
weight, all out
Yeah.
of nowhere. And then with Kenny Atkinson, I guess honestly looking at it, I've been a little hard on him. Kenny Atkinson only started being the head coach of the Cavs last year, which I thought he had been the coach at least 2 3 years. This is only his second year being head coach for the Cavs. He won Coach of the Year for the Cavs last year with them being the number 1 seed, and then this year, obviously, they were the number 4 seed, got into the rest of the Eastern Conference Finals, got blown out. But with it
It's
being only his second year, first year he gets beat by the Pacers, second year he gets beat by the Knicks, and but they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals on both teams. Teams are making to the finals. I can see, you definitely got to give him some grace. It's just the way they've gotten beat in the playoffs is what is concerning about Kenny Atkinson. Obviously, they perform in the regular season, and they're a good team. But to watch the way they got beat down by the Pacers last year, I mean, we were up 80-36 on them in a game in a playoff game, and they were the number 1 seed. You can't let that happen. No matter what seed you are, you be down that bad is embarrassing. And then you go into this year, they made it farther. So I give them all that. But then to do this, to lose game 1 in New York after what you had, to say what you were saying and going into game 4, and then to get beat this bad in game 4, it's just like, it just looks bad. The
yeah.
losses look bad. But for this
I,
to be on the second year, he's made it farther this second year. So, like,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's much easier to make smaller improvements to like the bench and to find pieces that maybe will be better, just to at least be guys that can move around. So like while Mitchell and Harden have the ball, they could just somehow get open and they see them and knock them down. Like, Strus had his moments where he looked great, and then he had his moments that he looked terrible, and like it's like, oh man,
Sam Merrill
Strus
the
probably shouldn't
same.
even be out there. Sam, yeah, exactly. Those are two guys that should have been knockdown shooters that clearly didn't produce like they should have. And, so that's a minor improvement there. Their big situation's pretty set, all things considered. Maybe they could use another wing. But again, minor, marginal things. And I think the biggest stat that Kenny Atkinson has on his side is that this is the only non-LeBron Cavaliers team that made it to the third round in all of the 2000s. You have to go back to the 90s to look at the last
Yeah.
Cavaliers team without a LeBron James to make it to the third round. So, I mean, again, Cavaliers don't have the highest expectations. They don't really have like, and like, considering where they were, I'm definitely thinking that they're like, oh, this is a successful year. We could build off of this. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do think that it's like tough. They're in a very hard situation that like very delicate where it's like we don't want to blow it up, but like there's not many ways we can improve either. So I don't know. I mean, I just feel like even Harden, Atkinson, more Harden than Atkinson. Like I think Atkinson's a fine coach. I think he could be someone that could be on the Cavaliers for a while. Harden feels wrong, but like you already traded for him, you already gave up the assets for him, so it's like they
Yeah.
obviously consider him to be a longer term guy anyway. So it's like it would be dumb not to re-sign him at
You
this
don't you
point.
don't get rid of somebody like a Darius Garland for somebody for 1 year.
Yeah.
You just don't do
And,
that.
and Garland's solid. Like I think most people would probably consider James Harden an improvement over Garland on most things, but Garland's a younger guy with he's knocking on the door towards a 20 point per game guy, which he could do if put in the
Yep.
right situation. And I don't know if the Cavaliers was the right situation for him. It kind of felt like more of the same of with Mitchell, having a second Mitchell that's not as good. So
Right.
I don't know. Like it just felt like he was just gonna be a Mitchell shadow regardless. Someone like Harden will at least have the respect that he does because he's James Harden. And then now it's like, all right, now let's get a true small forward, and then maybe sprinkle some bench help if they can. I don't know. I haven't looked at their salary cap. They could very well be screwed and be like, these are only improvements, guys. More, let's run it back, and they could very well do that. So,
Dude, maybe after signing James Harden, they might be like that. I don't know. But to wrap this up, we're gonna go into the Spurs OKC series, and this is by far the best series we've seen. I think the Timberwolves and Spurs were up there, but the Spurs end up showing definitely with Ant injured. Hey, we're just a better team. But with this Spurs Thunder series, Thunder up 69-58 at halftime. Series tied 2-2. Spurs haven't that game one. Double overtime game one for the Spurs for the Spurs and Thunder. Wimby dropping 40 points, 26 rebounds. That just kind of set up to what this series was about to be. And they end up
hmm
winning game one. Thunder end up winning the next two games, one at home, one on the road, and then the Spurs come back last game on Sunday, putting the beat down on the Thunder to make it 2-2 going back to OKC. This game feels like whoever wins this game wins it all because the Spurs have kind of shown it's going to be tough for them in a playoff series to win back-to-back games. So if they win this game, you do kind of want them to win next games because it's home, but even if they don't, it's still tied. It's still tied going to game seven. The Thunder win this game. They've shown they can win at home, they can run on the road, they can win back to back. So even if they lose against the Spurs in a game six, they go game seven at home, they're gonna feel more comfortable. But again, they're up 69-58 and Shy's at 19 points, shooting pretty badly, but at 10 free throws
yep.
by
That,
halftime. And that again, that's 10 out of his 19 points at halftime. That
I,
that's an
That's
issue.
always going to be the story. That's going to be the story. I mean, I feel like we are seeing it kind of more egregiously, especially now that it's like you only have two series to watch left. So like everything that the Thunder do is going to be under the microscope, and seeing some of the fouls they're able to get away with, like seeing I forgot if it was Vassell or Fox that was kind of just standing there, not even trying to impede Shea's shot, and Shea kind of slithered his body just enough to have some kind of contact with the Spurs guy, even though he wasn't even really trying to defend, and still got free throws. Like Shea had, like he just knows how to get the refs to blow the whistle, and it does kind of feel like the Thunder are getting favoritism, but all things considered, I just think the Thunder are just a well-oiled machine. All things considered, I mean that game three, when what was it? Sorry, when the Thunder put up what 82 points was it? Um,
What
oh no,
game? What
sorry, it was
game's
game
for?
four. It was game
Game
four.
four.
Game
Yep.
four, the last game. Yeah, so his last game, and yeah, I mean the Thunder put up such a bad stinker that it made sense for the Spurs to win it. And it always like Wemby is just one of those dudes just so unshaken by the moment. He's like, they have the nuns on the sidelines like trying to cheer them on. They're trying to be like, be like God's chosen team pretty much. It's kind of like the angle they're going with, but the Thunder's like, all right, let's go back into like reality and like what's going on right now, and we're just better than you. Shea's
Yeah.
just gonna do his thing every game. He's gonna get to the line. He's gonna dime people because he's fantastic at passing the ball.
Hmm.
And as long as one or two other guys on the Thunder show up on the scoreboard, I mean, it's like really they just gotta play the let's blitz Wemby, let's force other guys to beat us, and live with that. And right now, when you look at when I see what's going on with these Spurs, no one's showing up. Champagne is showing up. Champagne is showing up,
Hmm.
which is their saving grace because
That's it.
Wemby's not doing great and Fox is friggin' falling off a cliff and Vassell hasn't made a shot yet. Like Castle's done a little bit, but like this is one of those nightmare games that's like Wemby, please, we need you to score 30 in the second half, please, for the love of God. We
And
need
at
to get back in
halftime,
this.
this is we speaking about it. At halftime, Shet has had a complete better game than Wimby so far. Shet has 12 points to Wimby's 11, but Wimby at halftime only has one rebound, and Shet has
Mm.
six. And not granted, that's not all to Shet. Obviously, again, Shet's having a better game, but Isaiah Hartenstein, of all people, has been the one to slow down Wembanyama. At first, it was looked like it was gonna be Alex Caruso because Alex Caruso on him
Mm,
game one. Alex Caruso, I think we were on him game two.
mm,
But ever since they put Isaiah Hartenstein on him, that has completely slowed down the exception and exceptionability that Wemby has. Obviously, Wemby still has moments he still can score, but Isaiah Hartenstein has done a phenomenal job at making Wemby have to work so much harder to do anything. And granted, some of it is like sometimes you're like, okay, that I
he's
feel like that's a little
holding
bit more of
there. He's kind of, you
a.
know.
But how I see it, and this is why I wish, and not even to put any shots on the shy. It's just I wish the ref would call it the same for shy. When you're an elite player, that's
Mm,
the type of defense you're gonna get on you. When you're 7 foot and have an 8 foot wingspan, this is the type of defense that's gonna get put on you because it's the only way to slow you down. But it's like to any elite
mm,
player. Shy's gonna get it too. He's a back-to-back MVP player. You're gonna get more physicality on you. But
mm,
when they allow it for Wimby, it's like okay, whatever. Something should be a foul, but cool. That's the only way to stop him. But then you see Shy get pushed a little bit. It's a foul. It's like, okay, that again, elite player that's gonna be more physical. Why does he get to be now? Why is the foul come somebody more physical with him, but not with the other elite player? And that's my only thing. And again, that has nothing to do. That's nothing against Shy. It's just why does the refs have to do that? Like that's how you're gonna play
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely been questionable, and I feel like this year, like I feel like every year it's been getting louder and louder as far as like people questioning the refs' fairness in the game, and I almost feel like in the playoffs you should almost never call fouls unless someone's like on the floor, like not like oh he kind of got touched and he fell. I'm talking like a hard foul, someone
it.
getting
Yeah,
hacked hard or like stuff like that. I feel like fouls should be a minimum, if anything. Like they should really like if there's any time to bring back the physical 80s and 90s ball that old heads love to talk about, this is the time to do so. And also too, they definitely figured out with Wemby is that he's a hot-headed person. He comes from Euroball that, they're not really, they're more of a silky smooth kind of guys over there that they don't really allow physicality and contact. So someone like a Hartenstein who's like a solid
yeah,
40 pounds heavier than him, like that's exactly the type of player that A is going to be more physical. He's a savvy enough vet that he knows how to hold him and where to contact him where the refs can't see it. And, if Wemby starts missing his shots, like, again, he's just like anyone else where he's going to
yeah,
get frustrated, he's going to fall, get cold, and then it's like you just beg that someone else on the Spurs shows up. And in previous games, we've had that. But this game, not so much. We're not really seeing that besides Champagne, who's, making his shots.
yeah.
So,
Wimby just
I mean,
completely missed that shot.
yeah,
I will
it's
say
tough.
this series. And last series I was talking about Ant, rooting for Ant, just saying, I'd want to take Ant over anybody. This series has completely, and again, Shy is back-to-back MVP winner, so we knew he was good. But this series alone has shown where Shy is just better than Ant as a player. And I say that because of the way San Antonio plays defense. Because what San Antonio ended up doing to Ant basically was the moment he hit half court, he was double teamed immediately. And like the moment he hit half court, there was at least two people on him. And that completely ruined Ant's offense. And it seemed to completely ruin the Timberwolves offense. And granted, the Timberwolves, as we've talked about, they need a definite second option offensive wise. Dusumo maybe could fill it in time, but he's still really young. McDaniels has games, but he's more of a defensive type of player. Obviously Rudy Gobert is a straight defensive type of player. But when they double teamed Ant, it just ruined the entire offense for the
Mm.
Timberwolves. They started trying to do the same thing to Shy, and Shy dropped double digit assists against them. And I was like, that one goes to show again, the passing wise. Shy is just a much better passer, and he showed his point guard ability in that game. He can pass when he needs to. But then it also goes to show how much of a complete team this Thunder team was. They double team Shy all game, and just every Jalen Williams couldn't miss a three. Then Caruso couldn't miss a three. And then Carson Wallace couldn't miss a three. It's just like, yep, it doesn't matter who he throws it to now. They're all making the shots because Shy is getting double teamed. To the fact that now these games they came in double team Shy because of what they did. Just too many
Yeah.
players.
Yeah, and that's part. I mean, I think also one thing that Shea has that very like he has such a capability of taking what's given to you, which sounds kind of cliche, but the way that Shea just moves around with the ball, he finds his spot. He's very patient. He like what like I feel like with so many players, they almost kind of settle into like a certain dribble move or like, oh, I see the lane, I'm just gonna go and try to dunk on someone. Shea, on the other hand, is a very patient guy. They're not afraid to let the clock go to find the shot. It's not about finding a shot, it's finding the right shot. And a
Yep.
lot of times Shea is so good in that mid range too that not many people utilize anymore because it's so much like three and dunks, nowadays that when you see someone like a Shea that is just such an assassin in that mid range, and that's part of how he gets those fouls because again, you play careless or maybe you try to come in and try to like get all up in his face and then, boom, one bad hit, free throws. Like right now, he has the same amount of free throws as shot attempts. Like that's nothing.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, like he's just so good at that. And like you said, when they get double teamed and you have open guys, like Jerry McCain's been a guy who showed up also on top of the guys you mentioned previously, and almost everyone's capable of, knocking down open shot. They're not going to reliably make the threes, but if you're wide open, especially in the corner, more often than not, you're going to make that shot,
Yep.
unless you're just really bad. So like it's not fun, it's not sexy. It's just one of those things where it's like the Thunder or the boring, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but everybody goes for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich when they're hungry, you know. You'd much rather go out and get a burger or you get like sushi or something more exciting. Like peanut butter jelly sandwich is not exciting, but it gets the job done. It fills you up, and that's exactly what the Thunder do. And as of right now, it's looking like the Thunder
They're up
may.
about 20 now. Funny
Yeah,
enough.
it's looking like it's just about over unless the Spurs make a big run in the
And at this
late third
point,
quarter, early fourth.
seeing them up 76-58 in the third quarter, this series is basically over. And I know I said, hey, whoever wins this wins the series, but in the games that OKC won, game two and game three, San Antonio had an early lead. Both games. They started off hot, going off like 20-6, 21-10. And then OKC just slowly came back into winning this game. This is the first time I've seen OKC just full by the third quarter, just hey, this game's ours. We're winning this game. And to be
Mm-hmm.
doing that in a game five, yeah, so even if San Antonio wins game six, I wouldn't be too surprised if San Antonio wins game six. They don't let OKC win it at their home. At the same time, OKC could just end the series immediately. Hey, we are the better team. We're showing it right now. We're just going to get this series over with. Because again, up almost 20, not once in this series has OKC done this to Spurs. And to be doing it right now, it seems as at this point they've just figured out this is what to do to beat them. They float Wimby down. Nobody else is doing anything. The Spurs are shooting 33% from the field, while OKC
Mm-hmm.
is shooting 52. It's like not even a match right now, unfortunately.
And this is the perfect encapsulation of like here is a playoff vet savvy team compared to the young up and coming team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. Like this is just how it goes. This happens every year. And it's again, especially with a team like the Thunder, like they're more than equipped and they know how to win. They know how to do what they do. And the Spurs, if they fall behind, they're just not capable. They're not equipped to overcome a big deficit against the Thunder. Like they work best when they're ahead, and that makes sense. And this is a perfect example of like your shots aren't falling, you're not getting the stops like you should be. And and then when you're seeing the whistle being blown like it's getting blown, it's just like it's you can't help but to be discouraged. And it's like unless Wemby gets a kick in the butt or maybe Castle picks it up, it's looking like it's over, really. I still think
Yeah.
it goes seven. I think very well go seven. I think the one thing would just be the Thunder can't come out flat. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing. Because at least the Spurs are capable of like, all right, the Thunder are not playing well. We know how to take advantage of that. So the Thunder just have to play their game. They have to not, panic and take bad shots and turn the ball over, and they'll win because they're just a more fundamentally sound team.
That's what it comes down to. So to wrap it up, if it ends this way and the Thunder end up winning, Jerry McCain had a nice shot. Thunder and Knicks. Honestly, I to me it's the two most complete teams this year.
Hmm.
Fully. The Knicks obviously show again. We can talk about they're the best team in the East, but they're such a complete team. We've been talking about it for the past maybe year or two that they were a complete team, and there was just that team that beat them. Once it was the Celtics, and then it was the Pacers. But this year they say, you know what? Everybody in the East doesn't matter. We're better. We're gonna beat everybody. And then the Thunder team we've seen is the complete team in the NBA. Honestly, almost all NBA they are the most complete team. So to have that matchup, but basically the two most complete teams instead of a team like maybe the Spurs, they have a good team, but they have the one star. To have two teams that it's just the entire teams combined. If it ends up being those two, I do think this be a really good finals matchup between those two.
Oh, no doubt. And I think the Knicks have a very strong chance of pulling it out. Because I do think a Knicks Thunder series would be a true, like, the refs will swallow their whistles and let complete mayhem go. Because, I mean, it does kind of feel like the Thunder had the mandate in the West. And again, the Knicks being in the finals, the championship drought they've been in, the finals drought that like literally the year I was born, 1999 was the last time they went to the finals. So all my life I never saw the Knicks in the finals, and
Yep.
Knicks fans almost grew to expect to not make it this far. So if they
Jared
do,
McCain is over here
if
making crazy mid-range shots right now.
I,
It's-
I mean, he's so good. Like he should be a starter on another team, and he's the backup starter right now because of Jalen Williams being out. Like he should be a starter. Like he was a potential rookie of the year, and now he's just kind of coasting with the Thunder right now to do their
yeah.
thing. But I do think this is a team that could match up with the Thunder very nice.
Mhm.
I think the biggest problem is Shea. How do you guard him with the guards they have? I mean, obviously you don't want Brunson guarding Shea. So like you're gonna
You're
have to
gonna have to
switch
put
someone else on
you're gonna
him.
put Bridges on him. You have to. Bridges the only really the only option left because we can't bring down Ananobi because they're gonna start losing size. So you have to kind of put
Or even Josh Hart, because Josh Hart is just one of those guys that's like he's not
yeah
great, but like the
yeah
high energy, the high motor, and he'll just be a nuisance. Like he won't even be that great, but he'll just be a nuisance enough that I think could frustrate Shea and get him scrambled in certain instances. And the Knicks, if they steal a game or two early on, they could very well win the finals, which I think would be crazy. I'm going to be taking cover from where I am. I'm going to be ducking cover, praying that Manhattan is still standing, after the finals if the Knicks win, but we'll see.
yeah. And Jerry McCain, I know I've been talking about him. Jerry McCain has just made the last 9 points for the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean,
This makes no
we're
sense.
complaining about Shea, but when Jeremy McCain is doing what he's doing and other people are scoring, and it's like, again, Shea's enough of a task on his own, but the Thunder have more than enough scoring with their guards, with their other guys that like, you can't just hyper focus on Shea, and then that's when he goes back to doing what he does best. So, I mean, again, the Thunder are just about a perfect team as you can make, really.
They really are. And that's gonna wrap it up this week on the Pull the Chair podcast. Definitely stay tuned as next week we will be in the finals. Like I said, what it looks like right now is gonna be Thunder and Knicks, but we still got two more games possibly. So you
It's not
gotta pay
impossible.
attention. Wimby, with a Wimby out there, you never know. Mitch Johnson's been a good coach. The Spurs could pull it off, but the way the Thunder's playing, they are looking like they're just showing, hey, we are just a better team all around. But stay tuned next week, Monday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time for the Pull the Chair podcast on the Grit Network. I'm Paris as Dylan. We should have Tyler back next week. So, next week, 9 o'clock on the Pull the Chair podcast.